Hello, all. My name is Erta the Wanderer, and I've come out of the jungle today to talk with one of our most esteemed generals, the Great Lizard Wizard. How we doing, Wizard?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
Busy as usual. So, the Golden Boys of Sigmar have finally gotten a book, and unlike the last three, it's not complete garbage, which is surprising.
I mean, the third one was pretty good at the start.
For about a week.
Yeah.
Not
Until
not.
yep, until Heat Knights.
So so wait, not even that late into
It was
the.
like
It
a
was struggling before Skaven came out.
That's true. That's true. Uh but yeah, this one's really good. Um a lot of the old units like Wave 1 Stormcast like Liberators, Paladins, Dracoths, that all got much better. Sometimes, literally, some of it was just have more Rend, and that just does a lot to improve them.
Oh, I don't
Um,
know what that's like at all.
More scroll battalions. Uh,
Yeah,
they
that.
have split allegiance abilities now, similar to like Starborn coalesced vibes.
Yep.
Um,
I. The description of that was very familiar when I was looking it over.
yeah, I like it. I can't see myself not choosing Scions of the Storm the majority of the time. Um,
Because slow. Because slow.
Yeah, and like if you're playing against an Alpha Strike army, it's just so valuable.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, the thing I don't want you to kill, it's in the sky, and it's staying there until I don't think you can kill it.
Yep. Let's go over
Like
those
it.
real quick. They have general abilities, which
Yep.
is um, pick between Mogul Strike Force of Vizier, which is Irons of a Storm, and Stormkeep, and Blaze of Glory, which means they explode when they die. All Stormcast do this. Thunderstrike
Yep.
ones do it better.
Yep.
Which,
And Thunderstrike is a unit keyword, like totem or hero.
yep, essentially all the new stuff. And then I think they have an ability to grant it to whoever. But
I don't remember, but yeah.
Signs of the Storm is their standard stuff. It's their put half of your army in the sky, drop it down. It does some weird stuff later on, depending on what you decide to take as
And
far as
it
command
did get
traits.
nerfed. It's not as good as it was. Like it used to automatically come with shock and awe, which
Mm-hmm.
made units negative when to be hit the turn they came down. That's gone. There's a
But
way to get it,
yeah, it's not.
but
It's now a like. Is it? It's one of
I
their
think it
holy
uses a command
orders.
trait. Well, it uses a command trait.
Oh, okay.
Um,
So,
yeah, you can take shock and awe uh, as your general, and then you get that. Um,
which okay, they're trying to dumb everything down. This makes a
yep.
bit more sense.
Well, and I think the rules are getting a little bit more balanced. Like it's no longer like I do all the things off of doing something.
Mm-hmm.
Like it seems like they're just sort of toning back a lot of that. Like just across the board for Stormcast. And whenever we eventually get into the Auric book next, um, there's some stuff like that where it like used to do this thing and it did
Yep.
all three of these different things. That's going away from the look of it, and it's all becoming you do this thing.
Yeah, while also simultaneously making their units a lot stronger.
Yeah, which
So,
I kind of like. If all books go this way, I'll be pretty happy.
yeah, we'll see how it goes. The start of second was very different from the end of second. We'll see if this holds
Yes.
true.
Yeah, hopefully there's no AdMech book around the corner that's going to ruin the game.
It's GW, we'll have to wait and see. But they also have Stormkeep, which is essentially coalesced uh,
Yeah, it's the
Stormcast.
Stormcast that are already down here.
They've gone native. They're part of a city, and so they get
Yep.
different abilities. They have Watchful Guardians. You get Cities of Sigmar auxiliaries to make a coalition army, so it's the reverse of what Cities does.
Yep.
And they gain the Storm keyword. You don't
Yep.
affect. Wait, really? Oh, dang.
Hmm.
In addition, you get your units add +1 to their bravery, which is good for the city's units, kind of useless for the Stormcast half.
Well, so Stormcast for a lot of them, uh, if you're playing with the new units who get banners,
Mm-hmm.
this will bring you up to bravery 9 or 10. The reason that does matter is there is still some bravery bombing stuff, like Lumineth Realm Lords, where they have spells that prevent you from performing actions based on your bravery and that sort of thing. So it's not nothing. Uh,
Still, for the most part, this is not as good. They also have Shield of Civilization. All
yep,
Stormcast
which is
units
good.
counteth as 3. Goodness, I'm lisping all the heck. Anyway, yep, all for purposes of capturing objectives in their own deployment zone, turns 1 and 2, they uh, and
They count
any
as 3 models.
objection starting at 3, they count as 3 models per model. That
Yep.
unit deals 3 mortal wounds to whoever charges them on a 3+.
What
So,
when they're within 6 of an objective?
yep,
Another thing that's important to note, though, is this is Stormkeep Redeemer units specifically. So that is Liberators, and that is the Sacrosanct guys. Ah, crap.
there's too
What
many, don't
replaced
worry.
Liberators?
Oh, the
Uh,
spear guys?
no, no, no. They're like the Hammer and Shield guys. You channel their energy. It
Oh,
just completely left me. They came out with the Nighthawk.
oh yeah,
Uh, Sequitors. It's Sequitors.
Sequitors. There we go.
Um, yep. And then I don't actually know if the new guys are Redeemers. Let's check. Vanquishers are Redeemers. Those are the two-handed sword of the new guys.
My guess is it's
And
all the
Vindicators are Redeemers.
yeah. My guess is it's all the foot troops who aren't paladins.
No, Judicators, like all the archers, any of the specialty things. Um, like Evocators, most of the stuff isn't
Evocators
Redeemer.
are paladins, though.
Yes, they did get Paladin.
Yeah, hence foot troops, not archers, who are also not
Yep.
paladins, are redeemers. Alrighty.
Yep.
But yeah, so significantly pared down allegiance abilities. I don't know what this is going to mean when we eventually come out, especially because of how core a lot of our allegiance abilities
Allegiance
are.
abilities are. Yeah.
Yeah, they're going to have to do a heavy rework of our book again. Well,
Yep.
yep.
But I do actually like this style of army development.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's still room to have tech armies where like which is what I would definitely consider Seraphon. Like our units are all okay, but it's the abilities we get that surround them that make them really good. And so I wouldn't be surprised if there's still armies that fill that niche. Like Stormcast Eternals was never really about that.
Mm-hmm.
Because the Auric War Clans book definitely has a lot more tech stuff in it.
Yeah. The goal of Stormcast was always to be a beginner-friendly army, because
Yeah.
that's what everyone started with. Unfortunately, it never really was, because it was always really hard to play properly. Yes. And this book does a lot to make it more accessible to beginners.
Yes.
I've heard a lot of people describing this book as boring. I'm not sure if that is going to be because all books are kind of dumbed down to this point, or if they were just trying to make everything super simple for the new players.
So the book might be boring, but I don't think the army will be. Like because, for example, all these sub factions, they're a lot skinnier. They do like one thing now for you, and that's it.
Yes. I'm not.
They no longer have forced command traits, forced artifacts. They no longer fundamentally change the way you play it. That is sad. But there's still a lot of interactions, synergies. You can have a dragon army. Like, there's still lots of cool stuff in this book. So I think the army isn't boring. But I think the book is real skinny. Despite the fact that it has a metric ton of war scrolls.
Yeah, it's going to make all the other ones look like pamphlets, though.
Yeah.
But, yeah, we'll definitely get to sub-factions when we get to sub-factions. Let's see.
They've got only 4 command traits that they can pick from. Or I lied. They've got, 4 command traits. They've got Shock and Awe, which is what we discussed with Scions. It just gives you can only use it if you're Scions of the Storm. and it makes them -1 to be hit for all attack rolls that target them into the end of the phase.
Oh,
So if your
so
army scions, your general's on the battlefield at the end of the movement phase. So
so
it's all into the movement phases.
command traits are limited to subfactions. They just don't tell you. Sneaky.
Yes.
Hmm.
Staunch Defender can be on anyone. Oh no, that one's only Stormkeep. I lied. You can re-roll the dice that determines the number of mortal wounds caused when that unit gets charged. So the unit that's within 6 inches of an objective, when they get charged, that 3 up to do D3 mortal wounds, you can re-roll it. If that unit is wholly within 12 inches of the general, that's kind of eh.
That's
They've
definitely a thing.
Yep. They've got Envoy of the Heavens. If a friendly Stormcast Eternal model is slain wholly within 12 of the general, add 1 to save rolls for attacks that target the slain model's unit until the end of the phase. The same unit cannot benefit from it more than once. That one seems really good.
Until you realize minimum size units, and you have to have 2 units charging into the same thing for it to even work.
Yes. And it has to be wholly within 12 of the general. So that makes it even harder for, like, you to set it up, right? Like, you're dropping your line of guys, you're charging them in to multiple things. Like, it's not going to come up super often.
Yep.
Like, I think you're pretty much better off picking generic command traits for all of them. However, they do have Master of Celestial Menagerie. If your general's a monster on the battlefield, subtract 1 for wound rolls from attacks made with melee weapons that target friendly Stormcast Eternal monsters. Oh. There is no aura. There is no range. It's just if your general is a monster and he's alive and on the battlefield, so he can't be in the heavens. He has to be on the table. -1 to wound with melee weapons against all Stormcast Eternal monsters.
Oh, and the new dragons.
So, like, that's the one you take. Yes.
Crap.
Like, that's the one you take.
Wait, why, GW? Why are the other 3 so meh and this one's amazing?
I know, right? Like, now you're just like, oh, cool, so my general's always a monster.
Reduced all of the command traits down to 4 and got rid of all of the bloat. Why are they still bloat?
I know. Shock and Awe is usable. Like,
yes.
Shock and Awe and Master of Celestial Menagerie. I don't know why I would ever use Envoy of the Heavens or Staunch Defender.
I mean,
they're just too hard to pull off or not worth pulling off. Like,
Envoy of the Heavens does have the benefit that you discourage your opponents from charging you with more than 1 unit. But
yeah.
Or if you want to charge into more than 1 unit because you have limited models, but
here's
it pales in comparison to the other 2.
This book has so many ways to get +1 to save. Like, they've got Arcane Shield, they've got All-Out Defense, they've got multiple different abilities from different heroes that can do things to give +1 to save. Like, I just don't see Envoy of the Heavens, with how niche it is, being worth incorporating. If I want to become rend immune, I have enough options to get up to +3 to save, which basically means I'm ignoring your rend. Like, sure, getting to +4 or +5, that could be a thing. But, like, it's so niche, and there's so many other ways to get it. Like, why wouldn't I just take Master of Celestial Menagerie? Because there's a lot of good generals that are monsters that you can pick, and are absolutely worth taking as your general.
Right. Finally, they managed to fix so many of the terrible, terrible war scrolls where they're hero monsters.
Yes.
But, let's see, do we want to do Holy Commands next? I think that is technically a allegiance ability.
So, I actually have the book in front of me. Up next is the Artifacts of Power, if you want to do that.
Artifacts it is.
All right.
They dropped them all the way down to 3 for weapons, 3 for armor, 3 for Artifacts of Tempest, which...
Yes.
Yep, so attack, defense, tech.
Yep, pretty much.
I actually don't know what Hammer of Might does because my source doesn't say.
Oh, yeah. So Hammer of Might is pick one of the bearer's melee weapons. If the unmodified wound roll for an attack is a 6, double the damage characteristic for that weapon's attack.
I mean, is the Prime a unique character?
Yes. So you can't do it on Galvarus.
Shoot, that's a shame.
But there's a couple heroes that have like 4 damage attacks on their weapons. Uh, the dragon heroes, like you can put it on their weapon to make it 6 damage when you get a wound roll of a
Wait, the
6.
dragons aren't unique? Like
Let's
they're
check.
named,
They
aren't they?
probably are. They probably are.
Because that would be weird.
Kazare or Karazai the Scarred and Karando, son of Dracoth. Yep, they're single and unique. Never mind.
Yep. But we also have Blade of Heroes, reroll failed hit rolls made with melee weapons against heroes or monsters,
Hmm.
which actually matters this edition because monsters are a thing.
Hmm.
And Fang of Dracothian. If you deal a wound to an enemy unit with this weapon at the end of each turn, it Starfall as a mortal wound, so completely useless.
Yeah, it doesn't say that it ever falls away though.
Right. But even if that means you're plinking damage away throughout the entire game, which is not how you want to deal with models. And it's at like it says turn, so 10 wounds is respectable if you get it into a turn 1.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Um, but
most
it
people don't
does at
survive that
least.
long once combat is joined.
That's fair, but I like heroes stick around a lot longer now that you have the healing heroic action.
Hmm.
Um, and like you basically half the effectiveness of that. Like, oh, cool! Instead of getting an average of 2 wounds, you're getting an average of 1. Um, like it's not. I'm not picking it over the other ones, but I can see how it could be used.
I'm not picking over generic, but let's see.
Oh yeah, like Arcane Tome, like Amulet of Destiny. Yeah.
Yep. We have Drake Scale Armor. Reroll failed
Hmm.
saves for this hero against weapons with a damage characteristic greater than 1.
Which is
It
amazing,
is. This is incredible. Especially because their
especially since so
saves are
many of your
so
heroes.
good.
Yeah, so many of your heroes are a 3-up save.
Hmm.
Uh,
Missile
Mirror
weapon
Shield. Yeah.
can't target this bearer unless its firing unit is within 9. This is insane.
Yes.
Like, man, it basically makes our tactics irrelevant because salamanders can't get within 9 when they drop from the sky.
Yeah, but there's other things for Sally's to shoot.
Granted, but our main method for dealing with heroes is not a thing
Yeah.
when Mirror Shield is on the field. An
Yep.
amulet of the Silvered Sigmarite. Any incoming attacks against the bearer cannot be re-rolled. This doesn't matter because re-rolls aren't a thing anymore, except in
Yeah.
Stormcast.
And
So,
it only affects melee weapons.
okay, yeah. So definitely not a thing. Like, man,
Yep.
I think this affects us. It affects death, except that ability still doesn't work. So, I think that's it. I can't think of anyone else who kept their rerolls. So maybe this is Herald to rerolls
Uh,
coming back, but then why did they take them away?
Soulblight Gravelord has a way to get reroll
Right,
ones.
that's what I was talking about. Death has that one, but the ability still doesn't work because it goes off in the hero phase and only the hero
Correct.
phase.
Yep.
So, yeah, this might indicate that rerolls are coming back, but then I wonder why they took them away in the first place.
Yep.
It's weird and kind. Yeah. Anyway, but 2 good ones and 1 bad one, as opposed seems to be the pattern here.
Hmm.
And then we have
Uh,
Artifacts of the Tempest. Quicksilver Grasp. Once per battle, this hero gains fight first in the command phase.
yep.
Not bad. Not taking it, but not bad.
Hmm.
Luckstone. Once per battle, you can change the results of one hit, wound, run, or save roll for this hero to the result of your choice.
Or charge.
Uh, yep, or a charge. So rolls of d6 become 6. Rolls of 2d6 become 12.
Yep.
It's a thing.
It's not bad.
Yeah.
Like you can't do the whole Knight Venator snipe a hero, pop them, do 9 damage anymore, which
Hmm.
is how people used to use Luckstone. I never even saw it go off once. I've played against it like a dozen times and never seen it work. Um,
Yeah, in general,
it
no.
is technically worse because it's now limited, but it's better because you can make a charge of 12.
Yep. It's a thing. I doubt anyone's going to use it, but it's a thing. Once
Yep,
per game, this hero can ignore all effects of any spells or endless spells that are affecting or wound affect the bearer until your next hero phase.
that is amazing.
Yes, it's very good.
Obsidian Amulet, yeah, it
Yeah.
is really good.
all these are once per game, so
Hmm.
they require thought to be put in. But all of them, well, two of them are very powerful, and the other one exists.
Yep.
Again, this seems to be a pattern. As much as I degraded command traits, these they actually nailed it with artifacts of power. There's actual choice here. I think most people are going to go with like Drake Scale or Mirror Shield, but still, there is an option of going something nifty. And
Yeah, it'll be meta dependent, and there's a lot of stuff in the book already that has a 4-up ward when we get to it,
mhm.
and so I think you'll see people actually taking Drake Scale or Mirror Shield over Amulet of Destiny when as it adjusts for the meta.
Mhm.
Um, yeah,
It gives them options which they didn't have because their old artifacts were kind of meh.
yep.
Yep. Is Spell Lores next or what?
Lords is next, yeah.
Yep.
Which
Their
they
Spell
don't,
Lore is incredible.
yeah, they don't have any duds. Um,
Like there are some that actually Lightning Blast is very meh considering how good the other ones are, but it's essentially
sure, but it's still a
un
good spell.
it's essentially unlimited upcasted old Arcane Blast, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah, so it doesn't have a range.
It's
It's
just the
called Lightning
closest
Blast.
unit.
Goes off on a 5. Closest unit takes D3 mortal wounds. They also have to be visible. But it says the closest visible unit.
Hmm.
Um, so if the unit's not visible, it just targets a different one.
Right. So it's not bad, but considering everything else in this spell lore, it's not good because
Yep.
holy crap, the things these guys can do.
Yeah. Azurite Halo is what it was, but they've made changes. So the next spells, all the other spells that have a range, they now have a new mechanic. If a knight, keyword knight hero, is casting it, they all have a range of 12. If a keyword lord hero or a Drakith is casting it, they have a range of 18.
Okay.
Um, but Azurite Halo is the same. If you roll a save roll of a 6 on the unit you put it on, the unit attacking it takes a mortal wound. That didn't change. They've always had that, or
Hmm.
they've had it since Sacrosanct. Um,
When they
Celestial
actually got
Blades,
magic.
yeah, exactly, and it goes off on a 5. Like these first 3 spells all go off on 5s, so super easy to cast.
Yep.
Celestial Blades also goes off on a 5, has that same weird range mechanic. Add 1 to wound rolls for attacks made with melee weapons by the unit you put the spell on. Solid
Yay!
spell.
It's a great spell, especially for a primarily melee army. I mean,
Yep,
I used to
exactly.
take a hero exactly for this effect. Uh,
Yep,
so this is really good because very little in the game up till now affected wound rolls at all, and no,
yes.
and yeah, which is why like we Frostheart is so good at the moment. There's
Yep.
no way to counter him.
Chain Lightning goes off on a 6, has
It's
that same 12 or 18-inch range.
it's the same as City's Chain Lightning. You hit a dude,
Yep.
it could have the possibility to jump to other dudes on a 4+.
This one's on a 3 up, though.
Oh, 3 up.
And the range is a unit with another enemy unit within 6. So for 1 more in not unlimited range than Lightning Blast,
Mm-hmm.
you can do D3 mortal wounds to a unit. And then on a 3 up, do D3 mortal wounds to another enemy unit within 6.
Yep.
Or it's only 1, sorry, not D3, but just 1 more. Um,
Because of the prevalence of minimum size units, this can be very solid. It
yeah.
like especially against people with like really cheap chaff like we have.
Mhm.
It's solid. It's really good.
Yes.
Thundershower.
This is great.
Yes, this is probably going to be everyone's number one choice because of above mentioned stuff. Yep,
So it's got the same 12 and 18-inch roll, which is really important.
because it's either useless or amazing, depending on who's
Yep.
casting it.
So it goes off on a 6, also really obtainable casting value. Uh, Either 12 or 18 inches, depending on who's casting it. You roll a dice for every enemy unit in that range. And on a 3 up, that unit is -1 to wound rolls for attacks that they make until the end of your next hero phase.
This is
So you can bind this with like Scions of the Storm,
this is insane.
um,
This
and
is
you
a
can get your
horrifying
wizard in the
ability.
middle. Yes, like the amount of debuffing that you can get off, or like you have a Lord Arcanum on Griff Charger, you ride the Winds Etheric, and you cast this spell with him, and basically debuff the entirety of the enemy army, giving them -1 to wound until their next turn,
Yep.
or until their next hero phase.
We are
Uh,
we are the only one who has a hero who can counter this, and we don't take him anymore because they just nerfed him right before this book came out. Not serious, but so this will be the spell you encounter on in every single Stormcast list with a caster in it. It is that
yep.
good. It is bonkers.
Yeah, it's real good. It's real good.
This rivals the Daughters of Cain for best spell in the game.
Yep, it's amazing.
But yeah, and
Starfall is their last spell.
yep,
Goes off on a 5. Super easy to get. Same 12 and 18-inch, depending on who's casting. Pick a point on the battlefield. That's within that range. And it has to be visible. So basically, you can't have much terrain interfering, depending on how tall the character is who's casting it. On a 3+, units within that vector don't get to make pile-in moves
and this is
until
the
the end of the next turn.
third best spell in the game. Good lord.
Yeah, that one's also really good.
I mean, this hampers your ability to charge because you have to make sure you get it in because you can't move them once they're in there. This,
Yep.
oh man, this allows the very few models of Stormcast to go into the corner of a really big block and just
Yep.
not be worried about it being attacked back. Heck, you could just touch one model with a hero, and that hero can just fight with impunity.
Yeah, it's not as good as it would have been in second edition,
Yes.
but it's still really good.
Hmm. Man, both of these are incredible spells, and they will be the first line. You're going to see a lot of them. Like, goodness gracious, will you see a lot of them?
Their prayer invocations got cut in half. They only have 3 of them now, but it's the 3 good ones. They have Divine Light. It's the same. You can reroll hit rolls of 1. They have Translocate. It's the same. It's Lords of Space and Time on a 3-up.
It's old Lord of Space and Time because it was always
Correct, exactly. It except it doesn't have this stupid table. It's just new Lords of Space and Time, but on a 3-up. And then Blessed Weapons, which is 6s to hit, score 2 hits.
Yep.
They got rid of the Bravery one, and all that's gone. It's just the 3 ones that people actually use.
I guess that artifact that denies rerolls works against Stormcast.
Yeah. Yep. It'll help you against Stormcast. And it helps against Lumineth Realm Lords. They have that one spell that targets a unit, and you get to reroll all hit rolls against that unit with shooting or whatever. So there's 2 that
Oh, right. That's the one I was thinking of. It's still around. Anyway. But
their mount traits, like, instead of having a bunch for each type of thing, they've just got some decent ones. So Griff Chargers, Dracoth, Dracolion. You can take a thing that makes them eligible to fight within 6.
Which is...
Instead of 3, and they get to pile in an extra 3.
Yep.
So this one's amazing.
We've said this before. This is one of the best defensive abilities in the game. Being able to take this on your monsters is incredible.
Yep. The other ones are all kind of
because the new dragons are monsters.
Yes.
Well, one of them is, and I assume that means both of them are for this role. That's weird. Anyway.
Yeah.
Yep. Light of Young Stars. It grants a monster's ability to give -1 hit rolls if you roll a 3 or better.
Yep.
Which is solid.
Yeah, it's not bad.
It allows the Star Drake to be its defensive bastion that it was always designed to be.
Yeah, and it can only be taken on a Star Drake. Celestial Instinct is they can retreat and either shoot or retreat and charge.
Which is also solid tech if you have the option.
Yeah, retreat and charge. Yeah, that's amazing.
Yep.
Especially in that it prevents a lot of counterplay. Like, you can't just tie them up now. Like, they'll just retreat and charge.
Yep. Envoy of Lightning is not something anyone's taking. It's dropped from the sky, D3 mortal wounds on a 4+. Not a thing.
Yeah,
Let's see. Skin
it's okay.
Scintillating Trail. Enemy wizards suffer -1 to their unbinding rolls when a wizard within 12 casts a spell.
Yep,
Um,
it's
okay,
not bad.
it's not bad.
Like if you're wanting to make sure that you're like because of how dense the magic meta is with like Kairos, with Slans, there's a lot of ways to get techless. There's a lot of ways to get really strong bonuses, and so being able to reduce that unbind by one is pretty solid. It took me a bit to puzzle through when I was first reading this. If a wizard that is friendly is casting the spell within 12 inches of the monster that has this trait, the person attempting to unbind that spell has -1. For a second, I was like, wait, why is my wizard going to be within 12 inches of you? Uh,
I mean, it could be a wizard on a mount who always has -1 to be
yeah,
unbound, which is
exactly.
pretty
Yeah,
solid.
yep.
Yep. Thunderous Presence. This is essentially Roar, but in the Battle Shock phase. This one will matter if they take
Hmm.
it, but the other ones are also good. So, at least none of these are okay. Anvil of Lightning is an outright dud, but the rest seem pretty okay, if not very
Yep,
good.
yep. Yeah, they're all pretty solid. They're just a couple that are specific to what you can take. Um, Etheric Swiftness, I think, is pretty much always going to be the one I would choose. Um,
Yep.
if I have a Griff Charger, Dracolith, or Dracoline, which there's a good chance I'm going to have a Griff Charger because having a Lord Arcanum on a Griff Charger is absolutely amazing.
Yep. It's actually good now.
Yep.
Yeah. And Holy Commands, which is new. Did orcs get these, or is this a Stormcast only thing?
I don't think orcs have anything analogous to it. I mean, I've got the book right next to me. I might as well look. I
Yep.
really don't think they do. Um,
Because
like they
these are under enhancements, so they follow the enhancements rules. You can take them more than once. They're essentially triumphs for Stormcast and Stormcast only. So once a game, you can pop a bonus, and if you take enhancements, you can pop more if that's to your liking.
Yeah, no, they don't. Iron Jaw or the Big Wall, like Big Wall's the only thing close. They just have their allegiance ability Wall table.
Mm.
Um,
So this is essentially another allegiance ability for Stormcast. It might
yep.
become standard in future. I not, or it might just be Stormcast. We'll see. But
It reminds me a bit of like Zinch's grand schemes.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
they're you pick one when you pick your army, or if you take an extra enhancement, you pick two. Um, and you get to use them once per battle, like during the whole of the game. You
Yep.
get to use them once.
Like I said, they're triumphs for Stormcast with
Yeah.
specifics on who can use them. They're kind of like command abilities mixed with triumphs. It's weird,
Yep.
but yeah. Call for aid. A Redeemer unit of 5 models or less get all their dead models back to come back to life. Does
Yep.
this apply if it was wiped entirely, or do you need to be able to target it? I don't have the full text.
You can use this command ability once per battle when a friendly Redeemer unit. So those are the Sacrosanct Sequitors, Liberators, the new Vindicators,
Melee
and then the
foot
new
troops.
Vindicators, yeah, with the two-handed swords.
Mm-hmm.
Your battle line, like your basic battle line guys that don't have to do anything special to be battle line, and not Judicators. A new replacement unit identical to it is set up and added to your army. It has to be wholly within 12 of a Stormcast Eternals hero and more than 9 inches from all enemy units.
Okay,
And it happens when they're slain.
so yeah, essentially, man, Art Boys used to take an entire subfaction for this ability.
Yes. Yep.
I can see them taking this 2, maybe 3 times in set
Except
years.
that this happens once per battle, and it has to be a unit with 5 or fewer models.
I mean,
So it's
mid-sized
not
units
like
are already a thing.
yeah, but it's not like the whole Iron Jaws
Bringing back
roll
30
of 5
guys.
up. Yeah, exactly. Bringing back half. Yeah, it's not that. Um, getting yeah, that's gone. Like people were bringing 5-man units to get back a 10-man unit with the old Iron Jaws thing. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
so
not.
Less right with abuse, but I can definitely see people stacking this ability because enhancement and then bringing a bunch of sequiturs.
Yeah, doing call for aid multiple times.
Mm-hmm.
Steadfast March. I really like this one. You can use this command ability once per battle at the start of your movement phase. The command can only be issued by a friendly knight to a unit wholly within 12 of them, or by a friendly lord or Drakith unit wholly within 18 of them. That comes up many more times.
Yep.
Uh,
It gets to run and charge,
yeah, they get
which,
to run and
which
charge.
is great for a slow army like Stormcast. It's great.
Yeah,
It's great for any army in general, but it's good for them.
yep, yeah, it's really good.
Yeah. Thunderbolt Volley. You get to shoot in the hero phase.
Yep, either Justicars or Angelos. And that's most of the archers. It does not affect Vanguard Raptors. I'm pretty sure they don't have
Oh,
either of those.
Vanguards
Um,
still get no love.
yep, so it's not the long strike bows. It's not the ballistas. It's just basically judicators or prosecutors. I think the sacrosanct like sideways crossbows might have it, but I'm not positive.
Mm-hmm.
I'll check when we get to the war scrolls.
Yep. Unleash Thy Hatred. One Paladin unit, so all the big five guys,
Hmm.
within range adds +1 to the attacks of their melee weapons.
Yep.
That's pretty terrifying. Paladins can
Yeah.
be scary. Like, I
Yeah.
saw this one build that someone asked me about on Discord where
Uh huh.
they were doing 51 attacks at 2s and 2s, rend
Oh,
2,
yeah,
damage
yeah.
1,
Yeah.
and I'm a wow, this deletes everything in our army, including Bastillodons in
So
one swing.
I'm kind of happy because I have so many decimators. I have 15 decimators
Mm-hmm.
because I was the one guy back in the day that was like, nah, decimators are the good paladin, and everyone else was running the concussors. So I have so many decimators. Uh, so yeah, like you can be at like 8 attacks a piece uh,
Which is
with your
pretty
decimators.
impressive.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm pretty sure they're threes and threes rend 2 damage. Uh, yeah,
Because Rend 2 is going to become the new Rend 1 with how saving works nowadays.
yep.
Yep.
And that looks to kind of be the case for the 2 books that they've shown.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a shocking amount of Rend 3.
Right, because again,
Yep.
because of how easy it is to ignore Rend nowadays,
Yep.
that Rend's going up, which makes us not having any going to be difficult for a while.
The other one that they get is Final Thunderstrike. It's the same thing 12 of a Knight, 18 of a Lord or Drakith. Whenever a Stormcast Eternals unit dies and it gets that Blaze of Glory rule, where you roll dice equal to the number of wound characteristics on a 6-up, do mortal wounds, this adds 1 to it. So on a 5-up. There's other ways to increase it, so now you could be looking at a 4-up. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so that's pretty cool.
Yep. So that's the last of their holy commands.
Hmm.
Uh, the last of their allegiance abilities, apparently. So
Yep, then it's just the Storm Host.
general thoughts of the enhancements. Up until now, there have been a lot of enhancements in the games that have just been utterly worthless.
Hmm.
Our source artifacts, like and command traits, for example, just a whole bunch
Yeah,
of
yeah.
crap that is just useless.
I like Blade of Realities.
Granted, but that's 1 out of 6.
3.
Well,
Oh yeah, yeah,
I'm
because
counting
their
both.
command traits are shit. Yeah.
So, oh, and one thing, none of them were add 1 wound to your model, which is the worst thing that everyone had. So,
Yeah.
good job, GW. Credit where credit's due. You actually made a good enhancement list.
Yep.
But yeah, storm hosts have been incredibly pared back. Instead of
They're
having,
real skinny.
oh man, I hate this change. I really really hate this change. Subfactions now seem like a minor buff across your entire army instead
So
of a massive change of gameplay.
I will say that the Auric War Clans, even though it's skinny, it's still a bit more fleshed out. I think this might just be because there are 8 storm hosts.
If so,
Um,
I hope so. But
yeah, so
we'll
that is genuinely my hope.
yep.
Like
I
I don't
don't
think
like it with
Doc,
the yeah, I don't like it with the orcs either. from what I've seen
I'll
of
be
it. But well,
shocked if like more of the bigger army identity stuff changes. Like, I don't think Thunder Lizards, Dracothian Tail, that's going to get paired back. I'll be shocked if like Ravagers, Despoilers,
mm,
Kabbalist get super paired back to this. Same for like the Zinch stuff. I think this might be more targeted at Stormcast, but time will tell.
yeah,
But I actually do
time will
like it.
tell.
Like the fact that they don't shoehorn you into a command trait, don't shoehorn you into an artifact. I like that.
The thing
And
is,
none of them are bad.
yeah, the thing is, none of them is bad is a good thing, but mostly because none of them are super duper good. But the thing with being forced into an artifact and command trait is you'd actually get variance in your opponent's artifact and command trait. You'd have to actually know about them because now it's just going to be which one's the best, we take that.
Yeah.
It's going to drop what you're up against by a lot. It also was always a trade-off. You get this super ability, but you have to trade your artifact and command trait for it. Sometimes the command trait was why you took the entire meh subfaction. It
That's true.
was it was a big part of list building about having to gauge how good something actually was and how much
Yeah.
you were willing to give up for it.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
And
This has definitely reduced some of the skill of list building.
yeah, I'm going to miss that. I am very much going to miss that. But this is the world we
And
live in now. So
honestly, if you don't know which one to pick, it's Hammers of Sigmar. Like the other ones are
yes.
good. There are very many reasons to pick them, but there's a lot of heroes that are Hammers of Sigmar specific. So
Mhm.
if you can't decide which one to pick, just pick Hammers of Sigmar
Right, because
because then you get to use those heroes.
well, you get to use them regardless. They just have the our warband problem if you don't, because this
Exactly.
clarifies things. If a war scroll has a subfaction keyword, then it is always that keyword and does not gain benefits from your subfaction unless in that the
Yes.
proper one. So if
Yep.
anyone asks about that in the future, send them to the Stormcast book. This is where it clarifies that.
Yep. And you've always been able to take them before.
Right, yeah, right. You
It
can
just
take them.
doesn't.
They just don't get any of the benefits. Although it's not as important anymore.
Yeah.
But yep, we have Hallowed
Uh,
Knights. They have a
but
+4.
so what Hammers of Sigmar does though,
Ah,
it's actually really good. Uh, Units wholly within 12 inches of an objective just straight up have a 6-up ward.
yep, they essentially become
Like
a death
that's
army.
great. Yeah.
They also get Dracothian Guard as battle line, which is awesome because concussors are awesome.
Yep. Hallowed Knights is fantastic.
Yep.
It's only the Redeemer units, so the ones we've already mentioned. If they're within 3 inches of an enemy unit when they die, you roll a dice, and on a 4-up, they get to fight before they're removed from play.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Which is
I am particularly sad about this one because Hallowed Knights used to counter magic
mm-hmm.
in that they had a 5-up to ignore spells and other stuff. I would have much rather have seen something like that. But this is still cool.
Yep. The downside to Hallowed Knights is you don't get additional battle line, but considering Hallowed Knights is all about buffing existing battle line, I get it makes sense.
Yep.
It also stacks with Blaze of Glory, so have fun with that.
Yes. Celestial Vindicators. At the start of the combat phase, you pick a Celestial Vindicator unit that made a charge. Until your next hero phase, if the other modified a hit roll for an attack with a melee weapon is a 6, it gets 2 hits on the target instead of 1. Make a wound and save roll for each hit.
People have been
Fantastic.
taking Winter's Leaf and Sylvaneth for forever just for this ability, so it's a good option.
Yep.
Again,
You have to charge, but that's fine.
Yep, and it doesn't give you additional battle line, which is really painful in Stormcast because they have so many units and their units are so expensive. Battle line tax is actually going to affect them now. Yep.
Anvils of Heldenhammer is kind of the most meh one.
It's weird. It's really weird.
This should just be a always thing. It's weird that it's conditional, but it's conditional. So it's at the end of the charge phase, both yours and your opponent's. Roll 2d6 for each enemy unit within 1 inch of a friendly Anvils of Heldenhammer, whatever. If that value is greater than the bravery characteristic of the unit that you're rolling for, the first 2 damage they deal doesn't get dealt. That's it.
Yep. It won't affect. Oh, this is actually going to affect us half the time because Co-List has terrible bravery, and
Oh yeah, yeah,
Starborn
yeah.
has amazing bravery. But I doubt
Yep.
anyone's going to take. And actually, bravery has gone down in general for all of the third edition armies we've seen
Yeah,
so far. So,
but like when I'm thinking about most of the units that are going to be charging them,
mm,
like I'm thinking about meta. What is this going to help you against? Does this help me against giants? Nope, I'm dead anyways. Cool. Uh, does this help me against like a blob of Graveguard? Nope, still dead. Like it doesn't actually, because of how damagey the meta is. I
despite
don't see
damage
reducing
going
a
down,
total damage of 2 as being that useful. Where it is really good is at keeping your heroes alive. When your heroes end up with just like a couple guys stuck into them from where they were standing, and they're only going to take 1 or 2 damage. Well, now they're not. Um,
mm-hmm.
but that's really the only place I see it really coming out. Like,
and
I
then
don't know.
and then only if you can beat their bravery, which is weird. Anyway,
Yeah, it's basically going to help you against destruction, right? Uh,
poor
and the
destruction.
destruction that's like good, like Sons of Behemoth, Stonehorns,
Stonehorns.
um, like the things in destruction that are scary, you're probably dead by more than 2 damage. So stopping it by 2 doesn't really matter.
Although that being said, I have had so many games where I've survived. A 10-man skink unit has survived being charged by almost anything by 2 or 3 models.
Oh, sure, yeah,
Yeah, and Stormcast are a good deal more durable than skinks are.
yeah. It's not nothing, but it's just really conditional, and I think there's like I would way rather a 6-up ward save than that.
Yeah, fair enough.
Uh,
That will prevent a lot more damage.
yeah. Um,
Knights Excelsior. You gain the battle line of Annihilators, Decimators, Protectors, Retributors. So essentially, except for Evocutors, all Paladins are battle line. That's incredible.
yeah.
That is really, really
This
good,
this
people.
is probably the one I'm picking.
I mean, this is probably a lot of people are picking because a lot of people
Yep.
like Paladins, and Paladins aren't shit anymore.
Yep. Well, so in my opinion, decimators were always good. I know a lot of people didn't think that, but they were good when you had to deal with hordes. And now that they don't have to be fighting a horde to be good,
Yeah,
they're even better.
quote unquote good because they were good for a Stormcast unit.
I would like they're better than Croxagor. Like
Granted,
uh
but I'm the
old
only one.
decimators.
But I'm the only one who uses Croxagor.
I mean, I just took Croxagor to the last event, and they did shockingly well for me.
I know. I keep
Uh,
telling people, and nobody listens to me. But, um, yeah. Well, like the last
but
event, were you scoring or were you playing a meme list?
so last event, I guess we'll get into it. I took a Thunder Lizards list.
Hmm.
So it was a Slan, who was not my general, an Engine of the Gods, who was my general, with Prime War Piece for Thunder Lizards. And then I gave him the Griff, or the, not Griff Feather Charm, the Cloak of
No.
Feathers. Uh, and that actually won me 2 of the games that I ended up playing because it got me far enough to hit a shitload with the exploding 12-inch Aura of Mortal Wounds,
Oh, cool.
um, which was massive. That was the reason I took it, was positional things. And then I had a unit of 5 Sarsguard to help my Slan, 2 Skink Priest, 2 Stegodons with Bow, 1 Bastillodon, a unit of Chameleon Skinks, and 2 units of 3 Croxagor. And
Yay!
I played against Sons of Behemoth, against Evan. He's like the best Sons of Behemoth player that I know, and that army's already really good. And he failed a bunch of save rolls, and so I tabled him. Uh, because that's what Thunder Lizards do if you don't make your saves.
I mean, that's
Uh,
what any army does if you don't make your saves.
yeah, I basically killed two
It's
Mega
essentially the
Gargants.
roll 6 meme.
Yeah, exactly. I killed 2 Mega Gargants in the amount of time that I should have killed like 1 and done some damage. Uh, yeah. What was my other games? They were against other good armies. What were
Well,
they?
regardless, we've got a lot to
I don't
get
remember.
through.
But yeah, Croxagars did great for me. I didn't lose any games with them. So I'm so far undefeated with Croxagar. Uh, but the other things that the Knight Celsiors do is, in addition to making them battle line, Uh, until the end of the phase, when you pick a unit to fight, pick an enemy unit within 1 inch of the unit that's fighting. If the number of models is greater than the number of models in that paladin unit, add one to hit and wound rolls for attacks made by that paladin unit.
Which means pretty much everybody. That's an
Because
incredible
they're
ability.
they're 5 model units. Yeah. Um, yeah, it's crazy. Like, there's a lot of stuff it won't help you against because the meta has gotten
Monster
way
heavy.
smaller. Yep, in terms of unit sizes. But like decimators just are not scared of Graveguard. Like if decimators get to swing first, your Graveguard are gone.
Yep.
Awesome.
A lot of
Uh,
things this thing just goes into and minces.
yep.
Granted, the game has gotten more elite, and I have a feeling it's going to get more elite. If we'll talk about orcs next week, but we'll see about that. But
Hmm.
in general, this is a great one. You're going to see a lot of Knights and Cells here because Paladins are awesome, and now they get to be battle line, so you don't have to take 300 points of Liberators and be in play at 1,700 points.
In all fairness, though, 300 points of Liberators is actually a good 300 points.
It
Now,
is
in my
now.
opinion.
It wasn't.
No. Uh,
Yep.
yeah,
Celestian Warbringers.
they're a thing.
Yeah, each
It's once
race.
per phase, so that's cool.
Actually, no. These aren't. These aren't a thing. This is a terrible, terrible ability. Once per phase, your units may reroll one hit wound or armor save roll. This is
Yep.
awful. Not reroll ones. Roll one dice. This is not a good ability. This is a bad ability. GW,
Okay,
you did
but
great except
but
for this one.
here's the
This is
thing:
awful.
the game is more elite, so like,
Even in my elite armies, I'm rolling 15 dice bare minimum on all of these things.
okay,
Rerolling
but
one
like
single dice.
your Celestial Warbringers, right? And you're using your monsters that already have like a 3-up save,
Mm-hmm.
and you can give a mount trait to reduce rend by 1, and you can give a general trait to reduce wound by 1. You can now re-roll their save roll against like that ed butt, that kick, that pinch, whatever really high damage attack. So if you're running a monster heavy list, I kind of like the Warbringers. I don't think it's better than the other ones so far, um, but I can see it actually being useful. Like it's not worthless. It's not like, oh, that'll never come up. Like in a
I mean,
monster heavy
it will.
list, I
It'll
kind of
come
like
up
it.
a lot. It just won't matter because one damage never matters. Yeah, it'll happen a lot, and no one
Yeah,
will
but you're
care.
like, ah, man, I failed my 3-up save against flat 6 damage. Oh, look, I can reroll it.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, flat
like I
six
don't
damage.
know.
So
I
that's
I
against giants and nothing else. Yay!
Giants, Alarial Spear. There's a bunch of D6 stuff. Like there's a lot of things that have high damage, only one attack, uh, and that's where it's useful.
I mean,
Uh,
high damage only one attacks are already bad, and you never count on them in the first place.
oh, for sure, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But now you just get to like snicker when they're like, "Ha! I finally got my 3-up, 2-up, 6 damage attack through."
But now you're just being an asshole because they never get that to work. Anyway,
It's true. It's my least favorite, which is too bad because I really like their color scheme.
fair enough. Tempest Lords. The host on high prosecutors become battle line. Flying units may reroll one of the dice on charge rolls, which is actually pretty solid. Except, like that's the winged
That's
guys.
the winged guys with double hammer, hammer and shield, or javelins.
Yeah, except flying units. This applies to your big dragons, your smaller
Yep,
dragons, and your
yep,
winged dudes. This is
yep.
actually really awesome.
Yes. Also, a thing to keep in mind with prosecutors specifically, they can charge when within 18 and they roll 3 dice when they charge. So being able to re-roll one of those dice means you have a significant chance of rolling like a 10 plus.
Your median dice becomes 12.
Exactly. It is rather good. And I have always liked prosecutors. I thought prosecutors are one of their best units in second edition, prosecutors and decimators, and all the Stormcast players told me I was wrong. But maybe they were right, maybe they weren't. But because of that, like Tempest Lords and Knights Excelsior, because I own a bunch of Wave 1 Stormcast Eternals, like 6,000 points.
Mm-hmm.
Um, So I'm definitely going to be trying out Excelsior and Tempest Lords.
Astral Templars, Vanguard Paladors, Vanguard Hunters become battle line.
Hmm.
And enemy monsters can't pick them for rampages. Yay! They essentially get free Hunters of the Heartland ability. In the
Yep.
new monster meta, this is pretty solid, except Vanguards are still eh.
Yeah, and the thing is like the units that I really want it on aren't the units that benefit by getting to be battle line.
Yep.
Like where I want it is like on my paladins and on my redeemer units. And
Well,
honestly,
like
if
I
I'm
said,
running
it's
redeemer span, I'm playing Hallowed Knights because them fighting on a 4-up when they die is just good. And if I'm running paladins, I'm running Excelsior.
right. The thing is, the buff isn't bad. It just buffs bad units because vanguards
Exactly.
have always been jack of all trades, masters of none, and that hurts in AOS. Like, except for the really big bows, which aren't going to matter
Yep.
as far as this goes. Vanguards are terrible. They're really
Yep.
bad. They always have been.
Yeah. There are war scroll battalions for narrative play, but we're not going to cover them. They exist. You
They
can find them and
they're
read
the
them.
same thing with different unit composition for flavor and for the fact that Stormcast really can't fill
Yep.
the main core battalions half the time because they're
Yep.
so expensive.
Yep. And this is something that's happened in both books for the mass play section. They've gotten army specific grand strategies, army specific battle tactics, and army specific core battalions. I really like it. I'm excited to
Yep,
see all books get this,
they're
especially since they are very generic. They are core battalions.
they're
Um,
all very flavorful, but none of them are truly impactful. You will see them
yep, it
happen,
gives you more flexibility, but yeah.
but less more flexibility at the cost of um, maximizing your outcome.
Yep.
So
For my honest opinion, like we're about to go over grand strategies, and this is between both the War Clans book and the new one. I would not personally pick any of the grand strategies in the books over the generic ones because the book ones are basically the generic ones but more specific. Like have all the heroes on the table either be Drakothan, Star Drakes, or Drakoths. Why would I do that? Why wouldn't I just pick kill the enemy general since I'm going to have to do that anyways
because
as
you're
a method to
yeah,
achieve this?
because you're an Uber Chad who likes Dracoth.
Like I'm just adding an extra step to accomplishing something I could have accomplished
Yeah.
sooner.
I have a
Um,
feeling if we finally get ours that I'm just going to do Seraphon ones and only Seraphon ones just so
that's
I
fair.
can make my opponents ask what the hell it does.
But that's the Draconith Defiance,
Yep.
the
Pillars
one
of
I just
Victory.
described.
All battle line left alive are redeemers. So it's
Yeah,
just
why would I choose that when I could just take hold the line?
especially because does that not include your enemy units as well?
Yo, no, that you have to kill all enemy battle line,
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, which is
and
really
you
hard.
have to have a Redeemer unit alive.
Yeah.
Like if I have to have a Redeemer unit alive, I'm just taking hold the line because I've already done it.
Yep.
Like now I didn't have to do an extra step.
A really, really difficult step for both of the above ones. Killing all enemy heroes and all enemy battle lines is hard.
Yep. This is the exception. This one's actually decent. Sacred Charge. When the battle ends, you complete this grand strategy if there are 2 or more friendly Cities of Sigmar units on the battlefield. Um, if you're taking like tech-based Cities of Sigmar units,
Yep.
or you're just taking things that are harder to kill, this one can be closer to an autocomplete. But a lot of those tech units are either a wizard or priest. So why wouldn't I take Prize Sorcery or Pillars of Belief?
Yeah.
Um,
Also,
or hold the
they're
line.
yeah. Also, they're gonna have to errata this when Dawnbringer comes out.
Exactly, yeah.
Yep.
Um,
And it's similar with battle tactics. There's a lot of kill something specific,
and
kill
this
something
is the
specific with a specific unit.
but the benefit for the battle tactics. So, and I like this, right?
Yeah.
Like the battle tactics, you'll definitely do 1 or 2 of these throughout your battle.
Yep.
The reason having the extra battle tactics are great is it means you don't get bottlenecked from like turn 4 and 5 and being like, oh, there's none I can do because of the way the battle played out. Which, to me, overall, I don't like. I enjoyed punishing my opponent by removing battle tactics they could do. That was oftentimes what would decide the outcome of a game. So this is going to make early books much stronger because they have a lot more options than other players.
Yep.
So that's something to keep in mind. But they have no extra way to score more than 2 points. Like a lot of them, like you do it with a monster, you score an extra point. That sort of
exchanging power for flexibility, as we said.
Yeah,
earlier.
exactly. So they're good. I'm happy for when all the books have them. Until your book that you're playing gets one, you're more limited, and you will fill it on the table. Your opponent will be able to bottleneck you. It'll be really hard for you to bottleneck them.
Yep. But yeah, okay. And now on to War Scrolls. We will not be doing all of these.
Yeah. And the core battalions are just like
Stormcast. We are not doing all of these.
The core battalions weren't crazy. It's just like pick some battle line, they get unified. Or some units that are troops, they get unified. Pick 2 heroes and 3 troops, they get strategist. Pick 2 troops and 1 to 3 ballista, they get slayers. Like they're core battalions, they're just straight core battalions.
Yep.
They just have different unit types that they can put in them.
Yep. So for War Scrolls, I think how we're going to do this is because I don't have the War Scrolls and you do. I'm going to ask pertinent questions that people need to know, and you can answer them, all right?
So, okay. Works for me.
Out of the War Scrolls so far, who do you think are the biggest winners? Who improved the most?
So, out of units that improved the most, Paladins, Liberators, Judicators, Dracoths. Dracoths also improved. Like, all of those really improved. Some of them had some horizontal shifts. Yeah, like all the Wave 1 stuff is quite playable now. There's several new heroes. Liberators just innately have Rend 1 now.
That does a lot.
Like all across their weapons, Liberators just have Rend 1.
Do they still have a 4+ save?
They still have a 4+ save. They're 5-inch move. They're still 7 bravery. Champion gets to add 1 to the attack characteristics of their Heavenwalt weapon, paired weapons, or grand weapons, so that's the same. What did change for a lot of units is that you can, Liberators are the exception. Anyone else that gets special units, like the Judicators, the Skyshock crossbow, or bow, for prosecutors, the Trident, like a bunch of those things, the Prime's ability doesn't affect them anymore. So that did change because it specifies that which weapons the Prime gets +1 attack on. So that did get hit. So that's annoying just because I'm gonna have to remodel some shit. That's really the only reason I care. I just don't want to have to remodel it. Some of the other changes is that a bunch of the rapid fire abilities that used to be on some of the different crossbows for Stormcast Eternals, now hits count as 2 hits with those weapons. So those got actually usable.
Yeah, they
got
the Tempesters. Much better.
Yeah. They're still not super good. I would still rather the long strike crossbow over the hurricane crossbow. I'd still rather the skybows over the bolt storm crossbows for Judicators. I'm still not wild about Tempesters. But still, those are all big changes. But Dracoths, Paladins, and Redeemer units all got significantly better.
Who do we need to watch out for?
So,
specifically for
what I think you will see is different than what I think is necessarily really good. But Paladins, because of that Excelsior Chamber, Paladins are quite good. Annihilators, I'm not as afraid of as everyone else seems to be for some reason. They're the Paladin that doesn't scare me nearly as much. Maybe I'm wrong,
the ones that scare me are the spear guys.
Oh, the Protectors?
Yep.
So, Protectors are 5 attacks each, 3s and 3s, Rend 2, 1 damage. They get to add 1 to save rolls that target this unit if at least half of the models in this unit, rounding down, are armed with the glaives. So, the reason that matters is all those old Paladins, you can take Star Soul Maces, which have a chance to do mortal wounds. They used to be different. Now they're much better. It's just you roll a dice on a 2-up, you deal D3 mortal wounds with that weapon. They're bad now, though, which makes me sad. It doesn't affect my decimators, because my decimators, I always only used axes. Because why would I put a Star Soul Mace in there when their job was to blend a horde? But like all the other ones, I'm like, oh, but I have 3 attacks with the other ones, and I can up that attack. Yeah, so that's just sad. It just doesn't synergize. Star Soul Maces are trap now.
Hmm?
But yeah, the vanilla paladins to me are way scarier than the annihilators. Evocators
Annihilators
are
are the new guys, right?
annihilators are the new guys, either the shield or the giant freaking hammer, and those come in max sized units of 3. I think you can take them in units of 1. Let me go to the back of the book. I think they're really weird. Let's see, which is a problem for reinforcement points if that's a thing. But something I was reading made me think that you could take them in smaller units. It might only matter for Path to Glory. Annihilators, nope, they only come in units of 3. All Annihilators are units of 3. That makes me
Okay.
much happier.
Yeah, because
Um,
everyone's freaked out by Annihilators because they're dropped from the heavens and hit everything ability.
yeah, and they can do it within 7 if you take that one
Oh,
lord or whatever.
and the 2+ base save, which
Yeah,
apparently uh, prosecutors can do just by not using maces. So
yeah, or
whatever.
by using the minimum number of maces and killing them first. Like if you take 3 glaives, 2 maces, you're fine. Uh, because that's the most you can take anyway. It's yeah, they just get it. You
They
just kill
yeah
the maces first, and you get to keep it. And the glaives are better than the maces, in my opinion.
yeah
Um,
like this was the unit I was talking about earlier. With the proper setup, these guys can one shot the Stilodons really easily.
so what my favorite paladin unit. So prosecutors have a 3-inch reach. That's big.
Yes,
Um,
that's the main thing. Because normally
yep,
reach doesn't matter for Stormcast because they're huge and fat, but
yep.
3 inches reach. So
But
screw it. They can fight over
they're,
Liberators.
they're 5 attacks, 3s and 3s, Ren 2, 1 damage. Like, pretty solid. Decimators used to be 2-inch reach, and they got a number of axe attacks equal to the number of models in range of them.
Yep.
That's gone. Their axes are now 1-inch reach. 5 attacks, 3s and 3s, Ren 2, 1 damage. However, you add 2 to the attack characteristic if the number of models they're fighting against is greater than the number of models in the unit.
And you
Um,
already want to do that because they get +1 to hit and wound when you do that. So
exactly.
they're going to be that meme of spin to win.
Yes, and they're also 4-inch move, 7 bravery, 3 up save, 3 wounds,
Mm-hmm.
which so are the retributors. Retributors, instead of having 5 attacks, only have 3. They still have 2 rend, but they do flat 2 damage. They also get their old blast to ashes rule, which is the unmodified hit roll of a 6, deals 2 mortal wounds, and the attack sequence ends. Um, it's not an addition, it's just boom, you got a 6, 2 mortal wounds. So you're looking at 15 attacks, you're gonna get a decent number of them. Like you're gonna get 4 to 6 mortal wounds pretty consistently. So because of how easy it is to sack saves, that also makes retributors pretty good. I think retributors are the most versatile. Um, Protectors are probably what you're going to see most often. My personal favorite is decimators.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
But yeah,
yeah,
but the fact that all the paladins are
they're
pretty
good. They're
solid,
all good.
and not just
Judicators
pretty solid, but also almost interchangeable. What don't they all come from
Judicators
the same
became
kit?
really good shooting.
Mm-hmm.
So Judicators used to be, I'm pretty sure it was only 1 attack each, but I could be wrong. It's been a long time since I played them. But their bows went up to 2 attacks. They're 24-inch range. 3s and 3s rend 1 damage. The special weapon you can take in the unit is the Sky Shock bow. It used to hit, and then if it hit, dealt D6 hits. Now it just gets D6 attacks. So that's just straight better. Um, and it's also 3s and 3s rend 1 damage.
Let's
Uh,
see, Judicators.
yeah, like Judicators are actually a pretty good archer unit now. Um, and let me check their points. I don't think they're that expensive. Do, 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 do. Uh, Judicators are 200 points per 5.
Yeah,
So they did go up. They
yeah,
went up 80 points, at least from second edition. I don't remember what they were at
yeah.
the start of third edition.
Judicators, shock bolt bow, and shock And Skyboat Bowl did only have one attack back in the day.
Yeah, so they doubled the number of attacks on him. So doubling the number of attacks and only going up 80 points from what I remember. Like I haven't seen Judicators in third edition, if I'm being honest, at this point. So I don't know what they bumped up to with the point changes. But I'm guessing they were at least 140, if not 160 beforehand. Um, so yeah, like 200 points for that number of shots at 24-inch range. I like it. Um, so they got significantly better. Prosecutors, those winged guys, they got a lot better. They've got an interesting rule that lets them ignore some of the coherency. They count as being coherent if they're within 3 inches of other models from their unit. Horizontal.
Yeah, this has been going around the internet a lot lately. The new dragon guys do this as well. Guys, it does seem that it's just going to be that fat flyers get this new rule. So it's not an exception that we all thought it was. Although it's really weird that they make this exception immediately after the core rules come out. But yeah, entirely unnecessary. But at least it makes some kind of sense.
Some of the losers were the Knight Azeros and Knight Venator. Those both got significantly worse.
That's a shame.
I know. Azeros is one of my favorite models. The new hero that you might be seeing a decent amount is the Knight Arcanum.
I mean, you already saw the Knight Arcanum everywhere because it was their only good hero back in the day.
Yeah, well, that was the Knight Incanter.
Oh, okay.
Knight Arcanum's a new guy. He's got on a mask. So his cool thing, he's a wizard. Yeah, I know.
Doesn't that just describe all of Stormcast? It's a
new but guy. His is a
this
different.
This one has
mask.
a mask. Oh,
it's
a new guy. This one has a spear. Oh, it's a new guy. This one has dragons.
But he's got the standard Stormcast 3-up save for a hero. He's a wizard with 6 wounds, so he's pretty beefy. He's a level 1 wizard, 1 spell, 1 unbind. What's really cool about him is he has Indomitable Lore Seekers. Predatory endless spells cannot pass across or finish a move within 3 inches of him. So yeah, that's like actually pretty nifty. Blaze of the Heavens is the built-in spell he has. Goes off on a 7, range of 18. Pick an enemy unit within range, invisible. They take D3 mortal wounds. But you get to add 2 to the range of the spell for each other Thunderstrike unit within 12 of him.
Oh, wow.
So, like, you could ramp this range up pretty big if you wanted to for, like, cheeky D3 mortal wounds.
That's what we do.
Yeah. So he's not bad. Like, stopping the predatory endless spell movements is an interesting thing that you can definitely do.
Primarily, you're going to be taking the casters to use the above-mentioned spells. But it's
and honestly, why would I care about stopping where it can move when I can take a Knight Incanter who once per game gets a Void Scroll?
Right.
Like, if there's an endless spell I want to deal with, I just do that.
And that's already considering that endless spells are relatively rare.
Yep.
So
Lord Veritant got a lot worse. He's still an okay priest, but now you're pretty much only looking at the Lord Relictor for priest. Because he doesn't get his whole gimmick where he could be -2 to unbinding. Or get +2 to his unbinding.
So he's no longer a rune priest?
Yeah, he's no longer a super unbinder. He now just is a priest, basically.
That's a shame.
So those were kind of nerfs. Ride the Winds Etheric got better for pretty much everyone. They're almost all the same, but not all of them are. Like, instead of moving a number of d6 inches, you just are 9 away.
So it's just
so that's sort of it's a horizontal buff, and like it's both good and bad, but overall consistency makes it more playable.
Yeah, and the Ride Winds Etheric was always a really big gamble.
Yep. But generally, across the board, you're looking at more Rend. The 2 new dragons are awesome. Like, you could easily take them in every list.
That was the next question. The new dragons, are they good?
So they're 600 points. Both of them are 600.
Which is a lot, but we'll see.
It is. But they're 3-up saves. Both of them are 3-up saves. They're both 18 wounds. They both start at movement 14. And they both have a Blazing Tempest weapon attack. That's a missile weapon. It's 18 inches. Um, it ignores the attack sequence. Instead, you roll a dice on a 1 to 2. The target unit takes a mortal wound, so it's a guaranteed mortal wound at minimum. On a 3 to 4, the target unit takes D3 mortal wounds. On a 5 to 6, they take D6 mortal wounds. So they both have that. They both have a Calamitous Tell attack, which is 3-inch range. 3s to hit, 3s to wound, rend 2 damage, and the number of attacks is the number of enemy models within 3 inches of it.
Oh
So like,
my, that's ouch.
yeah, it's a really good cleave attack. They're just, yeah, they're unit, or they're a Kraxagor hammer +1 rend, like pretty solid. The wizard version, Krondis, which is the one that I like. He's a little bit less good in combat. His bite is a 2-inch range, 4 attacks, 3s and 1s, that tier. So it's like a Manticore or whatever.
So
Rend 2,
he
3
auto
damage.
wounds, or do wounds always rolls of one always
No,
fail?
ones of, yeah, exactly. But there's like now 4 different things in the book that have wounds of 1 on a table. Not that it matters. But yeah, and there's ways to get negatives to wound, like
For Stormcast and nobody else.
Slaves to Darkness have a few, and some others, yeah.
Stormcast and Frostheart. That's about it.
And Slaves to Darkness, but yeah. So it helps against that, but it's not bad. Like 4 attacks, 3s and 2s, rend 2, 3 damage. Like that's gonna stick. His talons are 1-inch range, 3 attacks, 3s and 3s, rend 2, 2 damage. He's just slightly less attacks and rend than the other guy. But what's really cool is he's a level 2 wizard. He gets Ancient Master of War, which is subtract 1 from the attack characteristics of melee weapons that target this unit to a minimum of 1. The other guy also has that, so they're both like your 2 attack Graveguard. They're now 1 attack. Like that's huge. There's a lot of monster killers that this really hurts.
Yeah. Like it drops attacks. That's
yeah,
incredible. Yep. Remember, that's why we used to take Genmanids in everything.
And yeah, exactly. Yeah, so that's really good. The other thing that he gets is Regalia of Fulmin Taurus. Add the value, which it's got on the table, to his casting rolls. So at full wounds, when he's taken 0 to 8 damage, he's at +3 to casting. When he's taken 9 to 11, he's at +2. When he's taken 12 to 14, he's at +1.
Oh, wow.
So he's a level 2 wizard with +3 to cast. And he's a monster beat stick. Like, he's pretty fighty.
Dang. That's better than Marathi in almost every way.
Exactly. Yeah. No. And he's 600 points.
And she's more expensive than he is.
Yes. Yeah. So
and
this guy's
and he has spells rivaling her best spell.
Yeah. So the spell he has is Vactix Tempest. It goes off on a 9, so it is hard to cast. You're not looking at succeeding on it without that +3 pretty consistently. But it's a 24-inch range. You pick an enemy unit within range, invisible to the caster, and then you choose one of these 3 following effects to affect that unit. That unit subtracts 1 from their hit rolls. That unit has its rend worsened by 1. Subtract 1 from the attack characteristics of missile weapons. That's huge. And subtract 1 from save rolls. You can choose one of those 4 different effects.
So it's a great spell.
Yep. And you're already getting like one of your Tempest spells that you get to put on him from your lore. So he's really good. Like 600 points, absolutely worth it. He's more fighty than Marathi. He's close-ish in wizardry to Teclis. Like
he's closest to Croak.
Yeah. Like he's not as good of a wizard as Croak, but he's like, in that ballpark.
Base, he actually kind of is. Because he's got
but he's only got the 2 spells.
Bonus, and he only lacks he lacks 2 spells. That's right, Croak is 4. Never mind.
Yeah.
He rivals Slan.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I still think Comet's Call is one of the best spells in the game.
Granted.
Because it's table-wide, and, like, it's less good now that you have the heroic action to heal wounds. Like, you should just be like, okay, it's been 3 turns, all your support heroes are dead. Like, that was just brutal. Uh, that doesn't happen nearly as much. Um, so Comet's Call definitely went down. But yeah, like, he's a good wizard and a good monster.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got the Thunderstrike keyword, so he gets to interact with all that stuff. He's good. Um, the combat one doesn't have any of those spell things. Um, his special thing that he has is Fires of Vengeance. Each time this unit destroys an enemy unit, you can apply one of these effects based on what it was. If it was a hero or a monster, you get to add one to the attack characteristics of the melee weapons on him.
Oh,
Uh,
right. We saw this already. They showed it off with
yes.
the preview, and it's a thing.
Yep. If the enemy unit had a wound characteristics of 3 or more and was not a hero or monster, add 1 to run and charge roll. If the enemy unit had a wound characteristics of 2, heal 1 wound. So it's pretty good. Like, it gives him sustain when he's going into hordes. It lets him sort of do like that old Carno thing where you killed a thing and got to run and charge. But his his bite is way better. It's 6 attacks, 3s and 1, rend 3 damage. So it's 2 more attacks and 1 more rend. His Talon is 1 more attack, 3s and 3s. So it's 4 attacks, 3s and 3s, 2 rend, 2 damage. Like, he's a pretty good beat stick.
So
He
these
doesn't
guys
do enough damage for me to like him more than getting a level 2 wizard that's +2 to cast.
that also has access to 2 of the best debuff spells in the game, along with
Yep.
a very powerful War Scroll debuff spell.
The one thing to keep in mind is this is only a bonus to cast. It is not a bonus to unbind. So that does make it significantly less value than it might appear at face value. It only affects his casting, but still, like, you've got so many good spells that go off on a 5. Unless you're playing against Seraphon during the early turns of the game, you can pretty much rest assured that those 2 spells he's casting will go off.
Yep.
Like,
Oh,
that's pretty good.
yeah. And let's see. How about the mini dragons? The little 2 guys that are also
Yeah, let
one
me
of them's a
go
monster
find
and
them.
one of them isn't a monster, which is complicated.
Yeah, so I think there's a knight version, like where they're like a hero that you can take. There's a lot of war scrolls. Bear with me. Oh, the chariots are pretty cool. I like the new chariots.
Yep.
Uh,
We do have access. We've had access to the World Scroll a while now. They're solid. 12. They're like better versions of our
okay,
Carnosaurs for cheaper.
so there's Stormdrake Guard, which are the units. They come in units of, I think it's 2, but I really want to
2.
double
It's 2.
check before. Yep, units of 2. Stormdrake Guard. They're 285 points for those 2. Their battle line, if the general is a Drakenth or Stardrake. So, like, if you make the Dragon Wizard your general, these guys are battle line. They've got a 12-inch move, 3 up save, 9 wounds, 8 bravery. They've got Draconic Flame String. It's a 12-inch range instead of 18-inch. And do not use the attack sequence. Roll a dice. On a 1 to 2, nothing happens. On a 3 to 4, D3 mortal wounds. On a 5 to 6, D6 mortal wounds. So they don't have that guaranteed 1 mortal wound like the big guys, but otherwise it's the same but shorter.
Yep.
I
did
Monstrous Regiment.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
I did number crunching on these guys. They do similar damage to 6 Demigryph Knights. They fly. They fly. Yep. They have +2 movement. They can get our monsters and get the monster benefits. Our battle line, and are about 50 points cheaper than them. So these guys are pretty solid all around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They've got a couple different abilities like Draconic Onslaught. Once per battle in your hero phase, you can make a normal move, roll a dice if enemy units are within 12 inches of this model. On a 2+, the unit can immediately attempt to charge.
Yep.
So, like, just once per battle in your hero phase, making a move that's 24-inch movement. Like, this seems really good for Stormkeep armies, where you're not dropping from the heavens to help them get across the table. Like, I actually really like the dragons specifically a bit more in Stormkeep because they already have really good movement. And getting that extra counting for more models on objectives um, for Redeemer units, which you're probably going to have, even though these guys count as your battle line, just because Redeemer units are good now. Yeah, I like these guys in Stormkeeps.
You can see.
They're not bad
Yep. So.
dropping from the heavens because you can put these guys on the table and then drop your slow guys from the heavens.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like they're solid. They're good.
Yep. Seraphon did a good job. Oh wait, no, we didn't. They retconned that. Oh man, I went through all of our old stuff. You know, they removed every reference of us raising dragons except for the short story.
Yeah.
Every single
Oh,
one. That was 6 articles that have been changed. That's weird.
this is a thing. Celestar Ballistas are back.
Oh.
Their 36-inch range attack is one shot, threes and twos, Ren 3, d6 damage.
Ew. Okay. Fair enough. How much do they cost?
Great question.
I think it's like 120.
I knew this,
isn't
but
it?
now I gotta double check. Why am I blind? Celestar Ballistas, 140 points.
Okay, definitely ew.
But their 18-inch range is 2d6 shots, fours and threes, Ren 2, 1 damage.
There we go. That one I can
Yeah.
get behind. Especially
Yeah.
with all the plus
So-
ones.
Yes. And you can put them into heaven and then drop them down 18 inches away from the things you want to shoot at. Yeah. So, like, they're actually, like, it's not going to be this. And, like, you bring a Lord Ordinator and your twos and twos with that long range shot. So, like, for a turn one volley, like, it's something that will be a thing. They're not super consistent, but they can definitely spike and flatten shit. Yeah. Like, if Sons of Behemoth end up being super meta saturated, I can see Celestar Ballistas. Oh, and there's another new hero that's super cool. But I can see those working with him to really deal a lot with Sons of Behemoth. So the new hero is Lord Commander Bastian Carthalos. He's got 8 wounds. He's got a 3-up save. He moves 6 inches, bravery 10. He's also just got a 4-up ward save. So very durable. Once per turn, in your hero phase, take an enemy unit on the battlefield, roll a number of dice equal to the wound characteristics of that unit. For each 6-up, they take a mortal wound. So, like, hitting Mega Gargants with that, just each turn, boom, take 6 mortal wounds. That's pretty solid.
Yep. And it raises their hero count to 28.
Yes. Yeah, they have a shitload of heroes.
Lord. And people
he
think
also-
Seraphon have too many heroes.
He also is pretty good in combat. His weapon's got a 2-inch range. It's 4 attacks. 3s and 2s, Ren 2, 4 damage.
Wow.
He's a Hammers of Sigmar guy. He does Hammers of Sigmar things. So at the start of the first battle round, after determining who has first turn, this is huge, by the way, you get to pick D3 Hammers of Sigmar units and redeploy them. Like, the number of things that I used to take and pick back in the day to get redeploys, like, I love redeploys. Redeploys are amazing. You get to completely screw up your opponent's deployment.
Sorry.
Love it.
I got that wrong. 33 heroes.
But yeah, like, you get to redeploy D3 Hammers of Sigmar units. He also gets Mantle of the Forest Sturm. At the end of a phase, if any models were slain by wounds caused by attacks from him, heal all wounds allocated to him. He just gets to come back to full health. And once per turn, he can issue a command to a Hammers of Sigmar unit anywhere on the battlefield without a command point being spent. Without a command point being spent is common on a lot of Stormcast Eternals heroes.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them have a way to not have to spend a command point to use a command ability.
I'm
and
hearing that
his lets him do it anywhere on the table.
Yeah, I'm hearing that a lot of them don't have command abilities at all.
Yeah, so you're
Warsaw.
using the generic ones.
So, quick question: is this also true of Orc heroes or just Stormcast heroes?
I didn't really dig super deep into the Orc War Scrolls because we decided to do.
Yeah, just pick up,
Let me
like, I don't
look
know,
for
the Ironjaw's
victory.
big boss. See if he has a command ability.
The one on Maw Crusher doesn't.
Oh shoot!
The Snatch a Boss. No, a lot of them just have built in at the start of
So it
what
looks like
things they're doing.
command abilities are going away right after they made command points weird.
Well, so I'm actually okay with that because I kind of like the generic command abilities. Um, like
I mean,
the so
granted, but
here's
it's
the problem with some of the specific ones. Like the specific and a lot of these heroes do a thing very similar. Like for example,
right.
Gavriel Shoreheart used to have a command ability called Once More for Sigmar Charge, and it cost a command point, and all Hammers of Sigmar units, wholly within I don't remember what range of him, got to add 3 to their charge roll. Super awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's not a command ability. He just has Once More for Sigmar Charge. You can reroll charge rolls for this unit. In addition, once per turn, this unit can issue the Forward to Victory command ability to a friendly Heroes of Sigmar unit without a command point being spent. So he just lets you for free pick a unit to reroll their charge roll. So it's very similar to what it used to do, but now you don't have to use a command ability. It doesn't have range limits.
Yeah,
Like,
I'm not inherently against this. I think it's a bit
exactly.
odd and going to make a lot of foot like melee heroes completely.
Well, I don't think so. Like, if you still end up with
But
good,
no,
flavorful rules.
I haven't finished the point.
Oh, sorry.
Mainly, I'm going to wonder what happens to us when we get our new book
Oh, yeah, me too. I'm so
because
nervous.
we're so command point heavy. But if they remove command abilities, what
Well,
do we have to spend them on?
there's so many generic ones that like are really important though, like all out defense, all out attack, unleash hell, redeploy. Like that's where I use most of my command points, anyways.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like
It's,
sure, the Skink Priest, I use the Skink Priest command ability almost every hero phase. And if I'm playing Thunder Lizards, I use Trova the Ancient every shooting phase.
mm-hmm.
But those are the only ones I find myself using very often that aren't
Well,
generics.
that's because all the other ones are on Source Heroes, and Source Heroes suck.
Yeah, exactly. And that like, but if Saurus get the treatment that Liberators got, they'll be good. Uh,
Big if.
so I'm not
Especially
too
considering
worried.
what we're going to be talking about next week. Poor Iron
I'm
Jaws.
like just this Stormcast battle tome has me really excited. I like this battle tome. It very much reminds me of when the Slaves to Darkness battle tome came out. I was like, great. This is a good middle of the road that everything else should be within a tier plus or minus of. Um, like that's what I look at when I see this. Like I don't think this is S tier. I think this is somewhere between A and B, and everything should basically be within a tier of this. Like that's my hope. I hope everything's pretty similar to this for all the future battle tomes coming out. I like this battle tome a lot. Yes, it's pretty bland in terms of the sub factions, but the Auric book has much more interesting sub factions, in
Yep.
my opinion.
And we'll delve
Um,
into that one next week. But,
yeah,
yeah.
and I like not being hamstrung into a specific command trait and artifact and that sort of a thing. Um, I am sad that
That
it
seems to be
lost a
the
lot of army
consensus.
identity.
But,
But I mean, it came at a cost. It lost a lot of army identity. And for armies like Slaves to Darkness, like Seraphon, like Cities of Sigmar, where those sub factions are very, very tied to how the army plays, I hope they keep that element in the game.
yep. I hope as well, but I don't think they will. We'll see.
But yeah, that's the new Stormcast. They're good. I like them. I would totally run a bunch of chariots, but I'm not going to buy any new models for an army that I haven't played in 4 years.
Oh, give it a month. They'll become
Exactly.
your new
No, I'm just
thing that you're
like,
just going to get
no.
everything of.
Liberators and paladins are good again, and prosecutors. I don't need any new stuff.
But you
That's
know
the
you
mistake
collect
they
one
made.
of everything.
Like that's the mistake they made. They made all my old stuff good. The War Clan book, they were smart. They made the Cruel Boys good, and they nerfed Ironjaws.
Oh, they nerfed them so hard. Poor guys.
Yeah.
Anyway, but at the moment, the jungle's calling me home. Thank you very much for talking with us today, Wizard.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep. If
That is
anyone
always.
has questions, put them in the bottom. If we got anything wrong, put them in the comments. We probably did. You all have a
Yeah, we'll
wonderful
address it.
night.